then what kinds of things can we do as professional developers to help another generation be interested in this and find the same passion and desire that we have for it, right? Because they're starting in a much
So
different place than we did.
I'm going to give a very self-interested answer from my own perspective. Again, stop me as soon as you're bored. So there's a reason I work on Scarpe. It's not that, rebuilding wise, UI toolkit is in and of itself all that. I mean, it's a good toolkit. It really is. But like GUI apps, like how many GUI apps do I write? And for a long time, the answer has been very few. And suddenly that number is a lot higher because I'm working on Scarpe all the time. But no, the thing is, um, the way you bust through these corporate uh, patterns that come from incentive that come from money incentive patterns, the way Linux broke through as the big server operating system, the way that you break through these sort of things that look like an economic requirement, is you find something that's cheap enough that you can get people to do it out of love, and then you just bust a hole in the wall like the Kool-Aid Man. Um, one way or another, you find a way to do that.
Yeah.
Um, the web, the web made great inroads that way. Like I love how and yeah, it's got its own capture by the ad companies and its own set of incentives and yada yada yada. But one thing it does give you, one way it did bust through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man, was that you can write websites that kind of more or less work, kind of more or less everywhere enough. Um, and you can say, well, no, I've used that. Like that doesn't work. And I'd say, sit and write native apps on Linux and Mac and Windows and mobile apps. Do that for 6 months, and then you get back to me on whether the web has kind of sort of done that. Like, really, truly, it's a different era than it used to
Yeah.
be. You rewind 20 years, like it's just better where we're
Yeah.
standing now,
Oh, yeah.
really and truly. And better than that, we're building Scarpe on WebView as our primary platform. We also got WASM, but WebView as our primary platform, and kind of like Electron, think of it as sort of stripped down budget Electron. You write it in HTML. And the thing about writing in HTML, I don't think HTML ever gets enough credit for this because I used to work at NVIDIA. I used to work on native apps. I used to do all this stuff, and it made me unhappy, deeply, deeply unhappy. Is that HTML has provided a serializable format for graphical user interfaces. It's not the best. Well, okay, no. Let me go back on that. It's not perfect, but it is the best because almost no other has ever been produced, and the other ones are terrible. So it is actually the best. It's just not very good. Um,
Right.
but the thing is, if you want to test, because testing these things is horrible. Testing these
Mm-hmm.
things was awful. You'd have little armies of people doing it. The more QA people who would go through and do all the same things to all the same versions of the program with all these tiny little tweaks you made, and they'd retest the whole damn thing every time, over and
Oh,
over. Those
gross.
poor people. Um, and okay, we still have some of those, but like with HTML, you can do run assertions on the program first. So if anything is egregiously horribly wrong, you can catch it in advance and make you fix it before you get to wasting weeks of their time.
Right.
Um, so yeah, having a serialization format for GUIs, it turns out, I don't think HTML gets nearly enough credit for that. But when I talk about you need something cheap enough that people can do it for love and then bust through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man, the web the web didn't just make it cheap to publish, because we're discovering how little publishing means until you can search for it. We're discovering that complete capture of the search engines makes publishing worth what you paid for it.
Yeah.
Um, but we've got a serializable GUI format. We didn't used to have that. We've got a portable app library that runs everywhere. We didn't used to have that. We're suddenly at a point where that wall is not so thick. With some work, we can bust through like the Kool-Aid Man. I don't know that Scarpe is going to be the one that busts through, but there's a reason I put way too much of my spare time. I mean, I also have 3 kids. I put way too much of my spare time into Scarpe because logo is a great example of where we have failed our little world. We
Mm-hmm.
used to have a thing that you could run more or less everywhere, and you could download an interpreter without too much trouble. Go find a logo interpreter. They're hard to find. They don't work well. We have betrayed logo. We have been an unworthy steward of what
Mm.
logo has provided us.
Yeah.
And it's not just logo. Logo is a symptom, not the disease. But like, it's really hard to put together a little thing that works everywhere. But you're starting to see the little flowers bloom. You're
Yeah.
starting to see the things come through the wall. Um, Sit and use Dragon Ruby. Have you messed with Dragon Ruby?
Oh, yeah. That's what I do the Cave Lords in every Tuesday. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, so you know about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like you're starting to see these things where you can write it once and it runs in a whole bunch of places and it works decently.
Right.
Dragon Ruby's not
I was
perfect.
going to say the game development tools, out of necessity, they're kind of pushing that because you
Mhm.
want to write your game one time and run it and be able to get on all the platforms everywhere.
Yep. Unity's not perfect, but man, Unity's better than what we used to have. Dragon Ruby's not perfect, but man, it's better than what we used to have.
And
Yeah, you're
that was one
starting
of
to
the
see
big
plan.
draws of Dragon Ruby is the fact that, hey, you just run the publish and all your bits and pieces are out there like they need to be. You just upload them. And in fact, it'll do a lot of the uploading for you in some cases too. But so it's that kind of automation and the concept of thinking these things through to make people's lives better, to do more out of the box things without having to think about all the mundane stuff is good.
If you like this clip and want to watch another one, you can click right here. Or if you want to watch the full video, you can click here.